Hey everybody, so today I'm going to share with you guys how I made this rose Castile soap. Also, I'm fully aware that Castile soap is the technical term for pure olive oil based soap, but according to Google, people don't use the word bath style soap anymore. They just call any vegetable oil based soap Castile soap. I just needed to establish that so I don't get any comments. So to start out, you want to combine all your carrier oils. So the carrier oils I'm using is 200 grams of olive oil, 25 grams of castor oil, 75 grams of evening primrose oil, 25 grams of rosehip oil, and 175 grams of 76-degree coconut oil. So go ahead and set your carrier oils to the side and grab a 3-quart crock pot and set it on high. Pour all your oils into your crock pot and let them sit in your crock pot to warm up. So while all your oils are warming up in your crock pot, we're going to create our lye solution. And to do this, you want to go ahead and grab a really thick glass container, something that's not going to break from excessive heat, and you want to pour in 100 grams of distilled water and 90 grams of rose water. Now set your water to the side and you want to put on some protective gear like goggles, gloves, and some long sleeves. And this is when we're going to be measuring out our lye. In this case, we are using potassium hydroxide because potassium hydroxide is used for liquid soap. Sodium hydroxide is used for bar soap. So make sure you have potassium hydroxide. And you want to weigh out 104 grams of the potassium hydroxide. Then you want to go ahead and pour your lye into the water. Never do it the other way around. You can screw everything up and it might get a little dangerous. So make sure you pour the lye into the water. Then mix it up a little bit and you'll hear a bunch of fizzy noises. It'll get kind of like smoky and a lot of fumes will come out and it'll get really hot and it might be a little scary if it's your first time, but it'll all be okay. Just give it a good little mix and wait until the water is clear. Then you are good to go. So once your coconut oil has melted and your lye looks clear, it is time to grab your immersion blender and pour your lye into your crock pots. Now you want to immediately start blending it with the immersion blender and you want to mix it for about 5 minutes. Then after you're done mixing it for 5 minutes, go ahead and set a timer for 30 minutes and make sure you're coming back every 5 minutes to mix it up again. Now throughout this 30 minutes, it'll start to look kind of like slightly thicker. Just keep mixing and then eventually mine kind of started looking like chunky like this, like pieces were like separating from the liquid. Just keep mixing and it'll eventually saponify and it will just all of a sudden go super thick. At least that's what mine did. As you can tell, it was just liquid and now it's just thick. And you eventually won't be able to blend it with the immersion blender anymore. So you want to go ahead and grab a really thick hard spoon, one that won't break. So I'm just using this wooden one here. But once it's too thick to mix with the immersion blender, then you can go ahead and let it for about 3 hours. And you want to be sure to leave it on high. But within this 3 hours, you just want to come back every 20 minutes and mix it up because you don't want your soap to burn. So make sure you keep coming back periodically so it doesn't burn and mix it up. Now it'll end up going to like this gel phase. Typically, when I've made Castile soap in the past, it ends up being more of like a translucent looking gel. But I believe since I used evening primrose oil and that's such a dark oil, it didn't get that clear translucent look. It sort of just ended up looking like brown and jelly. So after about 3 hours, I waited for about 4 hours just to make sure all the lye was cooked out. You can go ahead and do a little pH test. And how to do this is you want to boil 4 ounces of water, that's about half a cup, and pour it in some kind of container. And then take a golf ball sized blob of your soap paste and dissolve it into your water. This can take about 30 minutes to an hour to completely dissolve. Just wait till it's all dissolved. And after it's dissolved, you can take the pH level. You can do this using pH strips, which isn't too accurate because mine came out to be about 7, or you can use a pH meter. And my pH meter said it was about an 8.9, and that is perfect for soap. If you guys are wondering, Dr. Bronner's Castile soap is 8.9 pH level, but as long as your soap is anywhere between 7 to 10, you're completely fine. And this is when you can start diluting down your soap paste. If you would like, you can go ahead and just take your soap paste and store it in some mason jars. Just make sure they're sterilized. And you can just go ahead and dissolve your soap paste as you use it. And in order to do that, you just want to dissolve equal parts water to equal parts soap paste. But in this case, we are just going to go ahead and dissolve all of our soap paste now. And in order to do this, I went ahead and turned my crock pot on warm, and I started out by adding in 1 cup of rose water and then 3 cups of distilled water. Then you just want to break up your soap paste the best you can, and then lid your crock pot, and you want to be sure to keep your crock pot on warm. If you keep it on high or low, it'll end up bubbling over, so make sure it's on warm. Lid your crock pot and let it sit for about 8 hours. If you can, come back and give it a few mixes, but if you can't and you're asleep, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And eventually the next day or after 8 hours, give it a good look, and if there's still soap paste chunks in it like mine had, go ahead and add about another cup of water. I ended up adding 2 more cups of water, so I added a total of 6 cups of water to mine. So now that your soap paste is completely dissolved and you have your liquid soap, go ahead and grab any kind of sterile mason jar or whatever else you're storing it in. Just make sure it's sterile and pour everything in. If you're wondering, this mason jar is full of the Castile soap that we pH tested earlier, so I'm just adding the rest of the soap into this jar, and as you can tell, it's this really dark color. It's because of the evening primrose oil. It's a very dark oil. So I did end up with a total of 68 ounces of Castile soap. Also, I do want to mention that technically soap is a self-preserving product since it has such a high pH, but there is an ongoing debate on if liquid soap is technically self-preserving since you do introduce water to it. So it's your own personal preference if you want to add preservatives or not. And here I am giving you guys a lather test because you guys always ask for lather tests when I make soap. So as you can tell, there is so much lather to this soap. You definitely won't be missing out on any kind of lather. Like, this stuff is crazy. There's so much lather to it. And then the last thing I did, I had an extra 4 ounces, so I went ahead and grabbed this 4-ounce bottle and just filled it up the rest of the way with the rest of the Castile soap I had. And I went ahead and added in some rose geranium essential oil to add some more fragrance. There is a light fragrance from the rose water, but I wanted to add a little bit more rose fragrance. So you can do whatever you would like. Probably add some rose essential oil since this is rose Castile soap. It's only fitting. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this rose Castile soap recipe. Let me know if you're going to be trying it out. Also, I do have some other past Castile soap recipe videos here on my channel. I'll link those down below for you guys if you guys want to watch those as well. Also, I do sell homemade skincare products over on my Etsy shop. I will link my shop down below, so it's super easy for you guys to find. So I do hope you guys have a great week, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!
I'm stuck in the motions. I've been consumed by the wrath of time like I'm frozen. I'm shattered in this life. It's still the path that I've chosen. Because I've had a vision, now I'm on a mission to find myself.